It was about 9 months of chicken breast and broccoli and training. Weightlifting and yeah, that kind of stuff.
So just training constantly, eating just chicken breast, broccoli, and that is it?
Yeah.
What's up, guys? Derek, moreplates.com. Today we're going to be talking about Alexander Skarsgård. Hopefully I'm not butchering that. His body transformation for Tarzan, and was it achievable naturally? Do I think he did it naturally? What do I think he did in particular naturally, or if it was enhanced? What do I think he took and when and for what duration? What do I think went into the body transformation, and can somebody with average genetics reasonably expect to make this drastic of a change within this time frame? That is what we are going to be delving into in this video.
So if we go look at Alexander's physique in his past roles, we can go to his mid-30s. One of his most notable roles is in True Blood, and he just looks like a somewhat fit guy. Like, he has no muscle tone, really. He has no muscle mass on him. He's not skinny fat, but he's not muscular by any means. And some of these shots of him in some of the seasons of True Blood are pretty not flattering compared to what he looks like in Tarzan. Granted, he's not out of shape, but he's not, you know, a spectacle like he is in Tarzan, where everyone thinks he's cranked out of his mind. Moving forward to Straw Dogs in 2011 at 35, he has a bit more favorable lighting circumstances than we can see in some of the images I just showed of True Blood, but it's around the same time frame. His physique more or less looks the same. And moving forward to Tarzan, we see how much his physique actually changed. He looks like a totally different guy. Like, not only is his hair totally different, but his physique, you can see the fucking razor sharp sex lines, you can see the outline of the six pack, you can see trap popping, you can see the separation in the pecs, the traps, the delts are a bit more round. He looks very athletic and lean here. It doesn't look like he gained a shit ton of muscle, but he definitely got fit and lost a lot of fat and gained at least a decent amount of muscle in the process and recomped significantly. And getting into the interviews about his physique is where we get the most insight about how sustainable of a diet model he followed and kind of what it took to achieve his physique. And we get more insight as to if it was likely natural or not.
It was about 9 months of chicken breast and broccoli and training. Weightlifting and yeah, that kind of stuff.
So just training constantly, eating just chicken breast, broccoli, and that is it?
Yeah.
So he makes pretty fucking clear that chicken breast and broccoli is the diet model, and he did that for 9 months, which, as you can imagine, would be pretty mentally taxing. And I think most of you guys probably know by now, this is the shitty diet model we see in all of these celebrity transformations. And just for the hell of it, I decided to plug in the chicken breast and broccoli diet into Chronometer so I can show you exactly what that equates to in micronutrient deficiency. So let's just assume he was having 6 meals a day, about 6 ounces per meal. That equates to 36 ounces per day in totality of chicken breast, and then broccoli is about 1 cup per meal. So we're looking at about 1,318 calories, and we're looking at a deficiency in almost all areas, with exceptions of a couple B vitamins, iron, potassium. Protein obviously is pretty substantially over the RDAs, but you know, we all know about RDAs and whatnot. This is still more than enough protein. This is, I believe he was around 200 pounds when he started his prep, so this is, you know, well above what he needs relative to the fact that he's deficient in pretty much fucking everything here. So this is the kind of fucking, when people ask me, why don't you want to do chicken breast and broccoli? This is why, guys. You're deficient in pretty much everything you need. So if you think you're going to grow optimally when you're using this micronutrient deficient diet model, you're not. If you need an example of a newbie-friendly diet model to follow for gaining muscle, go check out the Vertical Diet. It's linked in the video description below. And it basically idiot-proofs the process. And it's honestly one of the best, most comprehensive diets I'm aware of for addressing micronutrients, gut health, as well as ensuring your metabolism is firing top tier and you can pack on muscle with ease and keep your appetite up and get foods that are conducive not only to muscle growth but to health as well.
Very, very motivated because I was so excited about the project and had a great trainer, and we had a chef on set that cooked these, like, unfortunately very small but healthy meals.
So you obviously had, you know, everyone always likes to refer to, oh, you have the top chefs, you have the top trainers, you have the top this, you have the top that. So obviously it's possible to gain fucking 30 pounds of muscle in a couple months. Like, if you have the top tier of everything in the top tier diet, then it only makes sense that you gain this much muscle in this much time frame, because we don't have access to that and only the top celebrities do. And he goes on to explain here what his prep was like to bulk up and then shred down.
Did you like bulk up or anything? Like,
So we did it in phases. The first phase was 3 months of 7,000 calories a day and lots of weightlifting.
So he goes on to say how he ate 7,000 calories a day to bulk, to put on the muscle initially for this role. And we all know that's complete horseshit. This guy did not eat 7,000 calories a day, nor would he have needed to. And if he did, it would have been idiotic, because this guy would have gotten so fat unnecessarily and gained so much excessive body weight to achieve the same amount of muscle he could have gained if he ate much less than that. So no, this guy had 200 pounds, did not eat 7,000 calories, and he has absolutely no clue what he's talking about right now, which, fairly enough, perhaps he is just not aware of exactly what he did, or perhaps his trainer just gave him, also doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, but we'll get to that shortly.
To get bigger, and then
I'm on the 7,000 calorie thing.
just stay on it.
I'm still waiting to get to the weightlifting part of it.
Phase 2 is less exciting because that's when they cut down the meals to kind of this size, and 6 meals a day and more cardio to kind of get rid of the fat.
So he talks about how they have little portions that are tiny, and he has it essentially like the palm of his hand almost, so we know he's not getting very much food here. And we're going to get to exactly how limited that food is shortly. And I was fucking shocked. Like, some of these celebrity diets are pretty fucking bad, but honestly, this one is up there with some of the worst ones. At least, based on what he said. And we're going to get into some of the details later, which are making it a bit more convoluted, but it's an interesting story nonetheless.
Yeah.
And no fun, I bet.
No fun for 8 months.
Did you ever have a cheat day?
Yes. I was terrified, so it took about 5 months till I allowed myself, or till Magnus gave me a cheat day. But it was on a Sunday, and we shot the movie in London, and we were at the gym and lifting weights, and I guess he just saw that my will to live was fading.
So he was 5 months straight with no cheat days, which is very impressive. But the fact that he's describing how his will to live was fading just gives us an idea as to how unsustainable of a diet model this really was. Because this guy got very, very lean for the movie, but he was not stage-ready bodybuilder shredded. This guy was what I would consider to be pretty close to sustainable, at least not suffering territory, if you actually dieted down properly off of your, quote-unquote bulk phase. So let's get into exactly what he did. And you can even hear from him talking about how insane his cheat day was, that this guy's, body has been deprived significantly. Like, he's been suffering for months, to the point where you would start to question, how deep is this guy's fucking deficit?
And it's been 5 months of broccoli, chicken breast, and that kind of stuff. And
so here we are, 5 months straight of chicken breast and broccoli, eating presumably a micronutrient deficient diet model, as far as we know right now, and probably getting like maybe 1,500 calories if he's lucky. And here we go. Let's continue from here.
And he was like, Alex, let me take you to lunch. Put down the weights. Let's go. And he took me to this Italian restaurant and sat me down and said, what do you want? And I was like, what do you mean? What, like chicken breast or salmon? He's like, no, whatever you want on the menu, order. So I got to eat pizza, pasta, tiramisu.
Wow.
I get emotional just talking about it.
The fact that this guy is still remembering it in this way just goes to show, like, this is the same mindset that people who've prepared for bodybuilding competitions and have starved themselves have when they come off of their show. This is the kind of attitude they have, and they binge eat and they fuck themselves up and ruin their metabolism and rebound overnight. And this is exactly what happened to this guy. He talks about what his his cuts and what happened to them after the movie. And Colbert goes on to ask, do you still have these razor sharp shreds, bro? And then he goes on to say how he'd lost them all very shortly after the movie.
Okay, I gotta ask you something. What is this thing down here? What is, your pants are like right down here, and you got this thing going on. It's like where G.I. Joe snaps on the legs. Do you still have that?
This is like the standard douchebag move when you're diced, is walk around with low-ride shorts or low-ride pants to show off your size lines.
Can we see? Do you still have that going on?
No.
You sure?
The day we wrapped the movie, I just fell off the wagon hard.
So he self-admittedly, the day after the thing, just couldn't even contain himself to go cheat on the diet massively and go binge. And what was the outcome of that? It was this. This is shortly after that movie, where you can see what his physique now looks like. It doesn't look anything like what he looked like in the movie whatsoever. No, this guy, you don't even recognize the fucking guy. Is this the Tarzan we saw in the movie? No, it's not. This guy is not representing the role whatsoever, and it just goes to show how likely it was that this guy was in a steeper than what would otherwise be sustainable deficit, and perhaps micronutrient deficient as well, very likely, based on the lack of flexibility in food choices. So we can see his physique took a turn for the worse and basically just rebounded like fucking crazy after he came off the diet, because it clearly was not sustainable whatsoever, and this guy had to eat his face off a bit in order to get back to what would otherwise be homeostasis for his mind and his body to feel normal. So this is where it interested me, because I wanted to see exactly what his diet was, because sometimes what these guys will do is they'll outline their diet, and then sometimes even the trainers will even reach out to me and tell me, no, they didn't actually do that, they did this. And it's like, well, who's telling the fucking truth? So this guy claims he ate chicken breast and broccoli for 9 months as well as 5 months in some of the other interviews. He ate 7,000 calories to bulk, and then he cut down on chicken breast and broccoli, tiny portions 6 times a day, which would otherwise equate to, if you were lucky, 2,000 calories, even if you were having some chicken breast with like fucking sauces all over it or something, which I'm sure he wasn't doing. But we're looking at, regardless, a micronutrient deficient diet model with a unsustainable amount of calories and a just ridiculous lack of variety.
Yeah, it was a long process and about 8 months of training and a very strict diet.
What can't you eat?
Well, now I eat whatever I want.
Yeah, I could see you just falling apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But for the movie, it was a very strict diet. No sugar, no dairy products, no alcohol. 6 small meals a day, so every 3 hours. On the dot. So I would spend,
for protein, what is that?
Smoked fish, a lot of fish, chicken, steak. Fat was fine, but I think they definitely avoid. I wasn't even allowed fruit, so no sugar at all, and it drove me a bit crazy.
So this guy was restricted to the point where he couldn't even eat fruit. But he does say how he had some, fish, and he also had some steak, which he neglected to mention in his other interviews where he made it sound like he was eating chicken breast all day. With that being said, does this make this diet significantly better? Well, it's certainly better than it was at chicken breast and broccoli, but I mean, there seems to be quite a limited scope of food variety here still that would likely result in a macro and micronutrient deficient diet model. Again, not allowed fruit, not allowed basically fucking anything except for meat and broccoli, which is garbage, let's be honest.
Portions were very small, so I was constantly hungry. I finished my lunch and I'd be like, okay, 2 hours and 55 minutes to my next meal.
That's kind of how it was on set when he'd come to set and take his shirt off. People were just like, wow.
Get giddy?
Yeah, the boys were.
The boys as well.
Big grips carrying equipment were just like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Hot.
Okay, so this guy was literally hungry to the point where he was already counting down the minutes until his next meal after finishing his meal. So we can tell at this point, this is like the kind of stuff bodybuilders go through from like the last few weeks before a show. And this guy was not as lean as a bodybuilder. In fact, he was basically like striking distance of single digits. Like he's not even shredded, to be honest. Like okay, maybe this is my fucked up perception of bodybuilding based on being a fitness channel, but I mean, like compared to a stage ready bodybuilder some guys are walking around like this year round eating 3,000 calories. And some of them are actually natural. Most of them aren't, but I mean, some of them are. So this just goes to show the prep his body was put through to go through this, and how he was essentially just driven into the ground with a dumb fucking approach to diet, in my opinion. There's no reason why this guy should have been suffering to the point where he was literally counting the minutes until his next meal just to achieve this body composition. Like, again, he looks fucking awesome, but like, come on, this is not starve yourself body. This is something that you should otherwise be able to eat at least in a deficit, but not such a steep deficit that you're literally dying inside and starving yourself.
That sort of commitment and discipline boggles my mind. He looks phenomenal. Yeah, he's really transformed his entire body.
The first time you saw him shirtless as Tarzan, what went through your head?
Nothing. My mind was blank and my jaw was on the floor, as was everyone else in the crew. Like, people stopped working. Even the men were just like, whoa, wow. It's amazing. He worked so hard.
When we first got Alexander, he didn't look like that. He was half the size.
Alex worked out for months and months with a big trainer who did a wonderful job with him.
So this guy looks good. Like, he almost reminds me of like one of the guys from 300. It almost looks like his abs have been sort of artificially enhanced to some extent. I don't know if that's the case. The lighting is a bit different in some of these shots, and sometimes they look a bit deeper than others. But at the end of the day, this guy made a crazy transformation still, and he gained a decent amount of muscle while clearly being in a... Like, it's very obvious this guy was in a steep deficit, or else he wouldn't have been starving the way he was. So we can already tell this guy's probably eating sub 1,000 calories south of what he should be to maintaining his weight, or what he would be to maintain his weight, not what he should be. So this guy gained a significant amount of muscle, or at least a decent amount, while stripping off a lot of fat. And is this achievable naturally? Considering this guy seems to be relatively new to training, I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility that this might potentially be natural based on his genetic response. However, you have to consider the fact that this guy is 40 years old. He has a short time frame to do what he's trying to do to prepare for this role. He's eating fucking next to nothing, and there's no reason why you wouldn't use something. So with that being said, I think it's a naturally achievable physique, but in the time frame given, and given the incentive to peak for this role, this guy's literally willing to starve himself for the role. Why would he not be willing to use some exogenous hormones? I wouldn't be surprised if he incorporated a mild dose of testosterone into this equation in order to build muscle in this steep deficit. Now, you could obviously argue, well, yeah, he's newbie gains, blah, blah, blah. But guys, like, this guy clearly gained at least 5 to 10 pounds of lean tissue while simultaneously stripping however much weight off his frame, eating south of fucking 2,000 calories in a matter of 9 months. So, with this shitty of a diet, doing what it sounds to be mostly body weight movements, this guy talks about he's doing push-ups all the time for his workouts and whatnot. I don't know. I have a hard time believing this is natural personally. I could be wrong, but to me, this seems a bit suspect. Just like any other chicken and broccoli diet guy in the celebrity world, we hear the red flags go fucking flying when you hear the chicken breast and broccoli.
It was 9 months of really intense training, and it began with a 7,000 calorie a day diet for the first couple months.
What would that consist of, that diet mostly?
Steak and potatoes.
Yeah.
I do 7,000 calories a day, like in general, without the cardio.
It was important that he didn't look like a bodybuilder in the jungle, but more like someone who could adapt into that environment.
Did you get it?
Oh, so that he's back in his natural habitat in a way?
That's the line I keep forgetting. He's back in his natural habitat.
So this guy didn't want to get too big. He didn't want to look like a bodybuilder. So you got to undershoot it, right, guys? Because we all know we're all too afraid of getting too big, and that's a possibility that's going to happen when you're eating south of 2,000 calories. Get the fuck out of here, dude. Like, you're not going to get too big and look like a bodybuilder. Like, come on. You're eating fucking nothing. Like, if you're on gear, even on gear, dude, this is unrealistic to even say, and your progress was great. But I mean, what a dumb statement, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe this is just the mainstream perception of what bodybuilder is. They think fat instead of lean, which is just weird. You can be more muscular and lean still. So for him to say that, maybe he's just perceiving it as, I don't want to be big and bulky, as in AKA no visible abs. Rather, I want to be cut and athletic looking, which he obviously accomplished.
Alexander Skarsgård has worked harder than any actor I know. He never, ever stopped. He was in the gym for 2 hours a day at the beginning of the day, then he'd go back at the end of the day. He was doing movement classes. He did everything.
So this looks honestly like a naturally achievable physique. However, the time frame given, keep in mind, this is in a 9-month time span going from essentially this to this, which, again, a lot of people would say that's totally naturally achievable, or it looks like a naturally achievable physique, and I would totally agree with that. I would just kind of point out the time frame again, the condensed time frame, the likelihood that you could gain this much muscle eating south of 2,000 calories. How likely is it? I don't know, man. It's a bit on the fence, but to me, this kind of the amount of stress this guy's willing to put his body through in order to achieve this look, it would be stupid for him to not take gear, in my opinion. Okay, so we obviously know this guy essentially starved himself in order to get shredded, and he also managed to gain a decent amount of muscle in the process despite eating what would essentially be a fucking bikini girl diet, from what I can tell. Now, moving on to something I found by his trainer. This is Men's Health's official channel. Everything Alexander Skarsgård ate to get shredded for Tarzan. And this is where things get a bit interesting, because his trainer basically outlines a totally different diet model than Alexander outlined himself.
A lot of people talked about Alex's 8-pack for Tarzan, so today I'm going to show you how he got it. So this is a pretty extreme diet that we did for a short time.
Okay, so he says it was for a short time, even though Alexander said that it was a 9-month prep, and presumably 4 months of it was eating 7,000 calories supposedly, and then 5 months was eating nothing but chicken and broccoli, is the way he said. And then he happened to mention also that he may have had some fish and steak instead of the chicken sometimes. But that's kind of where we're at right now.
It's not for everyone, so...
And I like how there's all these healthy foods laid out implying that he eats all these things, which is not what we've been led to believe up to this point, but let's keep listening.
Keep that in mind. When building a superhero, there's really 3 cycles.
It's kind of interesting how they use the word cycles for this.
It's the build-up, the bulking phase.
The bulking cycle.
It's the cutting cycle.
The fucking shred cycle, bruh.
When you want to get shredded. And then it's the maintenance.
The maintenance phase. Cruise.
While filming. The diet was very strict. So this diet was based around a lot of seafood.
Okay, I didn't hear a fucking thing about seafood when he was on his interviews, bro.
Alex was allowed to have carbs twice a day.
Heard nothing about carbs.
We were going for slow carbs.
Heard nothing about slow carbs.
Brown rice, quinoa, barley, farro, and cold potatoes.
Dude, what are we even talking about now? This is not even close to the diet model that was presented in the interviews with the talk show hosts.
Mostly. With his meals, he was also consuming good fats like avocado and unsalted nuts.
Was he now?
So the reason for eating an unsalted nut or less salt in general when cutting is that salt binds water and you're trying to get rid of that water retention.
It's a terrible outline of why you should not have sodium.
While cutting, we stayed away from sugar and fast carbs. Bread, pasta, mashed potato, sodas and juice, and most fruit in general. We also tried to be dairy-free and gluten-free as much as possible.
So all those decisions as far as the carbohydrates go, I pretty much, am on board with the exception of removing fruit. That's a dumb idea in my opinion.
And this is a loaded question. Some people feel much better when they're gluten dairy-free, and some people can't tell the difference. But let me tell you, if I'm getting you in tip-top shape and I got X amount of weeks, I'm not gonna risk anything. So Alex was around 200 pounds and he would consume about 135 grams of protein every day.
Okay, so he's at 200 pounds eating 135 grams of protein, which, even if we want to go by the pretty low end of the spectrum recommendations in the clinical literature, this is a bit fucking low in my opinion for being in a steep deficit when you're trying to preserve muscle. But anyways, let's keep listening.
70 grams of fats and 200 grams of carbs.
Okay, so presumably, let's calculate this shit out. So we have 200 grams of carbs, 135 grams of protein. Each gram of protein is 4 calories, each gram of fat is 9 calories, and each gram of carbs is 4 calories. So if we calculate that out, we get 135 times 4, so we have 540 calories of protein. We have 800 calories from carbs plus the 540 of protein. That brings us to 1,340 calories. Then we have 70 grams of fat. Multiply by 9, we have 630. So 1,970 calories in total is this guy's diet. So he's eating a 200-pound male who's extremely athletic and trying to be muscle-bound and shredded looking, is eating as many calories as a girl in an off-season, essentially. So I don't know how the fuck this guy thinks he's getting all of these foods that he mentioned at the start of the video into this diet model. But let's see what he says here.
While cutting. And I would adjust that depending on his activity. Alex's day would start with getting out of bed and doing a shot of ginger, cayenne, and lemon. Then do cardio for 30 minutes, either high-intensity interval training or something more restorative like swimming.
I can't even imagine doing HIIT training fasted, essentially, after eating less than 2,000 calories. I'd be fucking dead for my workout.
Have breakfast. So his breakfast would consist of 4 eggs with some spinach and some vegetables on the side.
Okay, so this looks pretty decent. However, I'm not seeing any of the carbohydrates mentioned or many of anything mentioned, to be honest. This kind of meal was not spoken about at all in any of these interviews.
3 hours after breakfast, Alex would have a snack. A typical snack would be some shrimp or like this mahi-mahi.
Okay, so again, I don't see any of the foods mentioned at the start of the video, and this is something that was not mentioned in the talk show host interviews either, which is interesting again. And it's making me start to think and wonder if this guy's just trying to make his diet plan seem better after seeing the interviews of Alexander and how shitty he made it sound of the diet this guy had him do.
3 hours after the snack, Alex would have his lunch. A normal lunch would be a ton of vegetables, a slow carb, like the sweet potato here, and some salmon.
This looks solid, dude, but again, how is this so different than what he was outlining in the interviews? Like, to me, if he ate this, looks a bit more reasonable, to be honest. But again, like, anyway, I'll comment after.
For me and my clients, it's really important that you can enjoy your food. What's the point of eating broccoli and chicken breast and white rice 7 days a week?
I don't fucking know. You tell me, dude. That's what he said he was doing. So I don't know. What is the point of eating that? You tell me, dude.
You can actually have good food that tastes great. 3 hours after lunch, Alex would have another snack. Could be anything from sashimi to lobster. The guy can afford it. So after.
Hey, the guy can afford it. All you poor motherfuckers out there have probably never seen a lobster before, but this is a lobster, and this is what he can eat because, he can afford it, Rich celebrity, top trainer, chicken breast broccoli, lobster. You ever seen it before? Probably not, because you're fucking poor.
Second snack, Alex would do an evening workout, 45 to 60 minutes of lifting heavy weights in the gym, and then straight after, dinner. And the dinner looks the same as the lunch, same proportions, slow carbs and some seafood as a protein source.
Okay, so none of this sounds like what this guy did whatsoever. So is this guy just backtracking 2 years later after seeing the interviews that he did, where he basically made his diet model look like fucking trash, and now he's learned more and he's trying to show that he's not a dumb trainer? Like, I don't understand where the discrepancy is here. Like, this is not even close to what Alexander mentioned he was having. And even if it was 1,970 calories, dude, with HIIT sessions and weight training, fuck, like, that's rough.
And a ton of veggies. I constantly monitored him every week. I was measuring his fats, watching the scale, and his overall energy in the gym.
Were you measuring his calories when he was having 7,000 a fucking day?
So it's really important when you do something like this that you're eating enough energy that you can actually keep putting in the work.
Yeah, because that's possible with 1,970 calories, right? So, from what we saw, proven by what this guy looked like within months after the movie came out, this guy fell off the wagon big time. The only reason you would fall off the wagon and look significantly different than your peak physique is that it is simply not a sustainable diet model. Like, it's just plain as day. No one would let themselves get out of shape unless they were not able to stick to their current lifestyle. And the fact that this guy's body composition regressed so significantly so quickly after his role just goes to show that this sub 2,000 calorie diet model was not congruent with a sustainable lifestyle practice. And it's very, very odd that this trainer came out 3 years after the fact and is presenting a video with what appears to be a much more favorable diet model for hitting your micronutrients and whatnot, whereas Alexander is pretty dead set on saying how he had chicken breast and broccoli 6 times a day in tiny little portions the size of his palm, and maybe had some fish and steak once in a while instead of the chicken. So either way you spin it, this guy was eating a ridiculously low amount of calories for his size, and I think he could have gone about this a smarter way. But as far as if he was natty or not, I'm leaning in the direction of no. I think this guy probably sporadically blasted for the movie in order to build muscle in a steep deficit, and why would you not? You're trying to play Tarzan. You know you're eating chicken breast and broccoli and sub 2,000 calories every day for 5 months. You're going to be starving yourself. You're going to be catabolic as fuck. You got to get some muscle protein synthesis in there. And what better way to do that than stimulate increased nitrogen retention with some good old testosterone? So that is my guess as to what he did. And I don't know, just weird the discrepancy between some of these trainers and their clients here. And it'll be interesting to see if more of these celebrity trainers come out of the woodwork and start, justifying their decisions for what their celebrity clients did. Because some of these celebrity clients make their trainers look like absolute shit in the interviews. And sometimes the trainers don't really do themselves any favors either when they go on camera either. So I guess we'll see what happens moving forward. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Is Alexander natty? And what do you think of his diet model? Do you think this is just objectively looking at his physique transformation from 9 months prior to that, during the movie, and then just shortly thereafter what his physique changed to? Do you think that was naturally achieved? Was it just a matter of just starving himself and having significant response to newbie training and just blowing up despite eating next to nothing? Or do you think there was some sort of exogenous anabolic assistance that helped him with that? Let me know what you think. All the comments help the algorithm, and they're much appreciated when you guys put them down there. Please like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplates.com. If you want to get deep dives into my articles on bodybuilding pharmacology, you can sign up to the newsletter, first link in the description below. If you want to follow me on Instagram, that'd be cool as well, because I post there, and I post on other platforms too, and diversifying is always good. So Instagram, at moreplates_more dates, Facebook, Snapchat, BitChute, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, if you want to listen on audio instead of burn through your data on the videos. That's always good. I'm on all of the podcast platforms, essentially, including Spotify and whatnot. If you want to support the channel, check out anything I am associated with in the video description below, including the vertical diet is what I would recommend you try if you want a newbie-friendly diet model for hitting all your micronutrient needs, getting your gut health in check, ensuring your thyroid production is topped out and everything is running in perfect order to maintain a as congruent of a diet model as possible to hypertrophy and strength gain, in my opinion. For newbies, at least. You know, you might have to do some tweaking down the line, but I think it's a pretty good start for most people. And as far as cutting down, I advise you watch my biggest mistake when people cut video so you can know what to avoid, so you don't end up eating sub 2,000 calories to get shredded, because that is just not a fucking sustainable practice, as we've seen proven time and time again, including with Alexander, who basically binged himself into dad bod status shortly after his movie, where he had one of the best physiques on the planet, and then, thereafter, regressed to nothing, essentially, within short order. And you can fall off real quick if you let yourself get into a hole with a diet model like that, in my opinion. So, check that out if you are interested, and anything else I'm associated with, my TRT clinic, Gorilla Mind, Gorilla Mode, anything else in there, check it out, video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.